This season, Alain St Maximin has quickly grown a reputation as a brilliant Premier League winger. But who are the best Newcastle United wingers I've ever had the pleasure to see play in my 30 years of watching games at St James's Park? In this video, I'm going to count down my top 5. Let's get into this. Now this season, our star player has undoubtedly been the young Frenchman, Alain St Maximin, a beautifully talented player with a low centre of gravity, strength on the ball and fantastic footwork and trickery too. He's been a shining light in an otherwise disappointing season. And thinking about his performances got me reminiscing about other wonderful wingers I've had the pleasure of watching play at St James's Park over the last 3 decades. As great as Alain St Maximin is, the fact he's only played 1 season keeps him off my current list, but if he stays and has a great season next season, then maybe that will change. As with any list, you need a set of criteria before you rank players, and so here are my criteria. It's quite simple really. Who's brought me the most joy and pleasure as a Newcastle United fan over the years? I appreciate other opinions are available, and also different people will have watched different players play. For example, I never got the chance to see Chris Waddle play, who probably would be a player I'd imagine would be on a lot of people's lists. So let's begin with number 5. And at number 5, it's Scott Sellars. Now, really, he's the first winger I remember play. He was very small, he was left-footed and extremely tricky to play against. He also scored the winning goal against the Mackhams in the first ever derby match I attended at St James's Park back in 1993. Sellars was one of Keegan's first signings, and he was a player who improved the team at that time pretty well. Now, going back to that Sunderland match I was talking about a second ago, the match was played in monsoon-style conditions and really could quite easily have been postponed. The pitch was soaking. I mean, you could see the water on the pitch and the ball wasn't bouncing, but fortunately for us, it wasn't postponed, and Scott Sellars earned himself a place in Geordie folklore by scoring the only goal of the game, a superb curling free kick in front of the Mackhams standing in the Leazer's end. And that's my best memory of Scott Sellars. Okay, at number 4, I've got Keith Gillespie. Now, an underrated player in my opinion. He was a key player, again under Kevin Keegan, and was a consistent performer. He rarely grabbed the headlines, but he always gave you a really steady, solid performance. What I really liked about him was that he loved to beat a man on the outside and get to the byline and pull the ball back across. He was a fantastic creator for the likes of Les Ferdinand and Alan Shearer, and was a reason why those guys scored so many goals for us. Now, he's not really talked about that much when fans sort of reminisce about great players we've had in the past, which I think is a bit unfortunate. Just take a closer look at Tino Aspria's famous hat-trick against Barcelona back in the Champions League in 1997. Who provided 2 of the assists for his 3 goals that night? That's right, Keith Gillespie. As I say, he never grabbed the headlines, but he was a consistent performer and massively underrated. Okay, at number 3, I've gone for Nacho Solana. Now, it seems almost ludicrous to have Nobby, our favourite trumpet-playing Peruvian, at as low as number 3, but that's a testament to the 2 guys who are above him. Now, I've mentioned this before on my channel, but embarrassingly, when Solana first joined Newcastle, I didn't rate him at all. He wasn't massively impressive in his first few games. I mean, he was obviously acclimatising to a new country and whatnot, but I was way too quick to write him off. I think this is when I stopped judging players so soon, and I kind of learnt the lesson there that I need to give players a chance with my own eyes and for a prolonged period of time. Because even now, amongst my family, it's still a bit of a cause of embarrassment for me that I wrote him off so soon when other people could see that he was good. And obviously, Nobby turned into one of the all-time great performers, one of the great wingers for Newcastle. He had incredible vision, and although he wasn't the quickest player, his ability to curl the ball in from a deep area was astonishing. He was so accurate. The only other player I can think of who crossed the ball in a similar way to him was David Beckham. Being able to curl a ball in from 30 or 35 yards short of the byline and still get it square on the head of the forwards is a skill not many players possess. But Nobby did. And I can't talk about Nacho Solana without talking about his free kicks. He was absolutely fantastic at taking free kicks, and he scored his fair share of goals that way. But I would say his most famous goal in a black and white shirt wasn't a free kick. It was probably the goal he scored against Leeds United back at Ellen Road in 2001 as we beat them 4-3. It wasn't perhaps Solana's finest ever goal, but it was a good goal and it won us the game 4-3, and it was a classic match under Sir Bobby Robson, and it was just some excellent memories. And at number 2, I've put David Genola. Now, if I was basing this list on technical ability alone, Genola would be number 1 by some distance. When he arrived at Newcastle and I watched him play for the first time, I knew I was watching a special player. He played at a level 2 or 3 times above anything I'd ever seen in a black and white shirt before that point. And I'll always remember with fondness visiting Burnden Park when we played Bolton at the start of the 1995-96 season. The floodlights were on, it was a warm summer's evening, and Genola and Ferdinand tore Bolton to shreds. Genola didn't score that evening, and the one criticism I feel is just about him is that he didn't score enough goals for Newcastle. But the influence he had on that game that night can't be underestimated. He was outstanding. In that game, he did hit one of the most outrageous shots I've ever seen in my life. He hit a shot from almost, it seemed like the touchline, and he curled it, and it almost went in. It must have moved about 2 or 3 times in the air, and just went wide. If it had have gone in, we'd be talking about that as one of the all-time great Newcastle goals. Of course, Genola did score some goals for Newcastle. The ridiculous volley in the UEFA Cup against Ferencváros was unbelievably good. That's probably his best goal in black and white. And he also scored the second goal, an absolute screamer from outside the box, as we beat Man United 5-0 famously back in 1996. He was a great player and one that we definitely should have kept for longer than we did. And at number 1, it's Laurent Robert. Robert seemed to split fans' opinion at the time, although I get a sense as time's gone on, more and more people do appreciate what he did for the club. But as I say, at the time, some people thought he was too lazy, but I always believed there was a place for players like him. And let's not forget, he was playing in a quality team who played Champions League football. You don't do that if you're not good enough. The fact is, if you had Laurent Robert in your team, he was a game changer and you always had a chance. Of course he had down games where he wasn't as good, but what player doesn't, apart from maybe Messi and Ronaldo? When Laurent Robert was on it, he was absolutely sensational and totally underrated in my opinion outside of Newcastle. He had the hardest shot I have ever seen on a footballer. Unfortunately for Olivier Bernard, our left back at the time, he found out firsthand just how hard Laurent Robert's shot was. And whereas the criticism for our other French winger, David Genola, that I've just mentioned, was that he didn't score enough, Laurent Robert did score goals. A lot of them were free kicks. His free kicks were second to none, and he scored plenty of them. And don't forget, he also played in a team with Solana at the same time. I mean, we used to score free kicks for fun. But my all-time favourite memory of Laurent Robert is when we played Arsenal away in 2001. Now, if you're a little bit younger than me, you might not know the context and detail of this game at Arsenal, but basically we went into that game having not won a game in London for over 30 attempts. For 4 years we'd not won a game in the capital, and we were playing Arsenal. And now we were a good team, but Arsenal were also one of the favourites for the title that season. Nobody gave us a chance. And sure enough, we went 1-0 down. So we were 1-0 down away in London on this horrible streak that we hadn't won for so long. However, we ended up winning that game 3-1, and the goal that wrapped it up was by Laurent Robert, and it was just beautiful. It was a breakaway goal. Arsenal were pushing for the equaliser because it was obviously 2-1. They were pushing for the equaliser, but we managed to hit them on the counter-attack, and Laurent Robert raced through the Arsenal half with a couple of Arsenal defenders in pursuit of him, and he slotted it into the goal, and we won the game 3-1. And let me tell you, when I was watching that game live, we were going absolutely nuts because I watched it on telly with my dad, and we went absolutely crazy. It was just fantastic. One of my favourite ever goals for Newcastle. So that result broke the London hoodoo and sent us to the top of the table as well after that win. It was just incredible. So there you have it, my all-time top 5 Newcastle United wingers. Maybe Alain St Maximin will get on that list one day too. I hope he does, because I hope he stays with us. But what I'd like to know is, who were your favourite Newcastle wingers of all time? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button and please consider subscribing too. And I will see you really soon for another video.